Hey, Bible lovers, I'm Tim Nichols, and I'm here to bring you your Nichols Worth. And today I have John Holiday with ICA Bibles and Vitaliy, and I'm not even going to try to say his last name, with SDG Rebinds. John and Vitaliy have done a rebind for each other, and I'm really excited to see what they did for each other. And then, of course, I'll show you what they did for me as well. And then we'll kind of talk about the differences between craftsmen and how that works, and we'll see where this goes. So I guess who wants to start?
Why don't you open up first, Vitali?
Yeah, I mean, I'll open up because it was kind of my idea. I had this
Right.
idea running through my head a couple of years back, probably like around Christmas, like to do kind of like a rebind exchange between different rebinders. And then earlier this year, I just kind of talking with John about some other things. I mentioned it, and he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." So we just kind of sent each other a text block and decided to do a rebind with some unique leathers that the other person hasn't worked with. Just kind of some basic parameters and kind of like don't do everything pink or super red. I sent John a LSB compact. That's why it's a super small Bible, but the LSB has become my primary translation a couple of years back. And so I have all the different versions for myself. And I was like, well, the compact is just an awesome little carry Bible. And I was going to rebind one for myself anyways. I was like, well, might as well have someone else do it for me. Then it'll become one of my carry Bibles for myself. And so, yeah, I have the package right here. I already cut it open. I haven't looked inside. So this is my first look. I feel like the other Tim right now. I don't know. I got to do something cool or have another camera pointed at me. What he does is yeah, yeah,
Got to swat it away. There you go.
yeah.
You
But
came more
here's
prepared than I
the
did. I haven't cut mine open yet.
Yeah, so here's the little LSB compact all wrapped up.
John, you remember the first time I unboxed one of yours and didn't know how to unwrap the saran wrap?
Yeah. Yeah, I felt bad after that because I didn't warn you. I really only have one way of sending Bibles out, and so everybody gets to go through it.
All right, Vitaliy, well, show us what's going on there.
Well,
Is it
man.
still in one
Uh,
piece?
yeah, no, it's this is shark skin, right?
Yes, sir.
Or yeah, okay. That's what I've never worked with shark skin, so wasn't sure. I've only seen it in pictures, had never even felt it. Man, this is awesome. I'm
It's
just
hard
kind
to get a
of
shark hide anymore that'll do a full Bible, but that Bible was so small, I was able to find a piece.
hmm. Yeah, no, this is incredible. The I love the grain. And whenever I've seen pictures of shark skin, for some reason in my mind, the thought is always like super rough and not flexible. But this is incredible. This is like goat skin level flexibility
I love working
for
with
this
it.
leather.
It's got a nice sheen on it. It's rugged. It's durable. It's like I said, you spend a lot of money. It's hard to get a good hide, but it definitely pays off whenever you're able to use it.
And I mean, the inside is all perfectly done. The gilt line, love that. This is a kind of like a deep midnight navy liner, right?
Yes, sir. That's a
Yeah,
Napa
no,
lamb liner.
got a couple of ribbons.
Yeah, let us get a good look at the cover.
So
Yeah.
just all pretty simple. I mean, you can't do too much on a small Bible, but you have the raised hubs, Holy Bible, LSB, the logo stamp over here. You got it's a perfect full yap all around. I know that's always hard to get, especially with thicker leathers,
Oh
because
yeah, it can get a little funny.
the thick leather, how it folds over, it shrinks a little bit. And so I know as rebinders, we always have our tricks. I'm like, ooh, you trying to guess on how to measure for the yap. And so, yeah, this is perfect yap. It has the tool perimeter line. Feels, that's the thing. Like for me, the feel is so perplexing to my mind. Like I would not expect shark skin to feel like this. Sharks, these
Yeah,
super rugged animals
right.
where, and the leather itself, like I said, I've never felt it. So this is my first time feeling shark skin in my whole life. And it feels totally different from what I expected. And
Got a very deep grain, but it's still
yeah,
floppy and still glossy. It's really cool.
yeah, that Might have to give it a try if I find some shark skin out there.
Let me know whenever you do, man.
Yeah,
I'll hit you up with the tips and tricks.
exactly. No, for sure. And I see the kind of like a textured vinyl end sheets, kind of a little bit
Yeah,
different from the typical textured cardstock. So
right. I get those
um
from Hollanders. Those are the leather like, but they're still I don't know, some sort of a composite paper that doesn't tear very easily and all that.
yeah,
I really like them.
okay. Yeah, kind of like a more standard end sheet for a Bible. So that's no, that looks awesome. It matches the liner well. The corner work is awesome. Incredible rebind, top notch. I
Awesome.
nothing to complain about. I know it's not super like the spine still needs some breaking in with obviously with a small Bible, but that just means I just need to use it, and I have no doubt that it's not going to fall apart. I can abuse it and use it. So thank you, John. I love it.
Awesome, man. I'm glad you like it. I'm gonna start breaking into mine. Ooh, baby.
So you all did this for each other, totally blind.
Yes.
Yeah. I think Vitaliy, like he said, he gave me a couple of, pointers, like a couple of suggestions, like no wild colors, and pretty much just let me go with it. And I can't remember what I told you. Maybe something like, give me a leather I hadn't used before or that I don't see very often or something like that.
Yeah, I remember we discussed about the leather that you haven't used before, and we were talking about how the Vitaliy Carlo Minerva smooth cowhide is kind of not used as much, and so that's kind of what I went with, and that's what you're holding.
Dude, dude,
So how is that leather, John? I've never seen it before.
you called this the Minerva Smooth? Is that what you said?
Yes. Yeah.
Brother, that's cool. So I sent him, gosh, it's been a while back. What was it, Tim? It was a Skylar Stridon.
You didn't send him anything. I sent them to
You sent it to
NASB.
him.
Yeah.
That's right. I stole it from Tim, and Tim sent it to him.
Yeah. Actually, we traded, and I'll show what we traded for here in a minute.
Dude. Okay. So I've got the Skylar logo there on the front, or the Jerusalem cross. I don't know if anybody gets mad if you call it the Skylar logo.
I do.
I don't know. Uh, okay. Minerva Smooth. What's the name of this color, Vitaliy?
I think that's walnut.
It's kind of like a light mocha look. Let's see. I've got some stitching here that matches it perfectly. The first thing that I always do, and this is the reason that I started doing the butt edge method, because whenever I pick them up, I sit here and play with the where the fold over is and where it meets the liner. And gosh, yours feels better than mine does, where I can't even feel it. But you don't do the butt edge method. You skive real thin, don't you?
Well, I get the leather skived down to about zero point 0.5, zero point 0.6 millimeters, so I don't have to skive the edges at all. And then for the
Okay,
liner, and then there's also a reinforcement piece in there. So the
that's
cover
right.
itself is actually 3 layers.
Okay. Well, it feels really good. Gosh, that feels good. That's one of those things I sit there and fiddle with. I'll put my fingers in the corners like that and sit there and pull on them, because it drives me crazy whenever you could catch on your thumb or on the page edges and pull up and the
Mhm.
glue lets loose and all that. Even though it's stitched, it's never going to come apart. It drives me crazy sitting there feeling that. And this one just feels perfect, man. This is awesome. Let's see. We're going to do the lay flat test. I got 3 gold ribbons. I guess these are sable, probably. They're like a darker gold. The
It's
lay
either
flat
old, I
test
think
is
it's old
awesome.
gold.
Old gold. Okay. Let's test it over here in Genesis. I'm at Genesis 6. Oh yeah, this is going to be perfect because they always break in just a little bit, and I don't want them perfectly lay flat in Genesis from the beginning, because they're going to wind up that way with just a little bit of use. But that
Mhm.
right there is perfect. In fact, a lot of times what I'll do if I'm reading in Genesis in a new Bible, I'll take something heavy like my phone or something like that and just set it there. That way I'm hands free. And gosh, after just a month or so of use, these things are absolutely perfect and right where they should be. Dude, this is awesome. Thank you. This is
You're
amazing. Let's
welcome.
see. Let's check your Yap work. We'll see if you're any good. That
Oh
is
boy.
perfect. That is absolutely perfect. Like there's no tricks involved. It's perfect all the way around. This is awesome.
I have a 1/8 inch margin for error. If it's within 1/8 of an inch, then I don't mention it in a video.
And
So,
and it took me a long time to learn this. Like Vitaliy was talking about, it changes. Your measurements change with every leather, and it comes down to the thickness and the texture, and some leathers shrink just a little bit. So as you get to know each leather, you get to decide every single time if you need to add an extra 16th of an inch or something to make up for that. Uh, but but this one is absolutely perfect. That is awesome. And I would imagine that that's one of the perks of getting your leather thinned down quite a bit and wrapping it around that reinforcement. It's probably very, very consistent. I love the Jerusalem cross there on the front. What I want to do is break out the ruler and see if you got it centered better than some people do that use that logo on the front.
Yeah. I try to center it between the text block edge and the tooled line kind of, and to account for the yapped fold over. Other manufacturers who might use the same logo do it between for the cover itself. So when the yap folds over, it does look a bit off, and it kind of bothered me.
I'm going to check your work
so
from just the eye. It looks perfect.
Vitaliy, do you know why you center it to the text block or the tool line that hugs around the text block?
Because when the yap is folded, it looks in the center. If it's centered to the cover itself, and when the yap is folded over, the logo just looks a bit off to the side.
If you get a real thick Bible, of course, then it's going to be way off to the side.
Yeah. So they that will remain unmentioned, they do it wrong.
I agree.
Yeah.
And that goes with anything that you put on the front. If you're just stamping Holy Bible on the front, you've got to center it with the edge of the text block. But his is absolutely perfect. It's a 6-inch wide block, and the center of that Jerusalem cross is sitting right at 3 inches. Perfect. So what do you got, Tim?
Well, with Vitaliy, I got a brand new experience of a leather I had never seen before, and that is the Fat Nat. And this Fat Nat has a beautiful grain. You almost feel deceived when you look at it and then you touch it, because it looks just like any other goat skin with that beautiful grain. And when I opened it and I hadn't touched it yet, I expected it to feel a lot like the Fat Nat, because it's kind of how it looks. Then when I put hands on it, this is suede, man. It's wild. I mean, my senses were like, what? And it actually took me a minute to adjust to what was going on. It's kind of like when you think you're drinking lemonade, but it's water.
Oh, man.
Like, what's going on here? That's what my hands were doing as I was touching this, but it is absolutely amazing. Stitch work is on point. And John, one thing that Vitaliy does that's very different than you is, yes, he does the overlap, and yes, it seems those corners don't have that hang up spot that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And the reason is, if you take a look, he hammers his corners down. Like, your corners are super pleated. And that's why that butt edge method really works well for you, because it eliminates that hang up. If you had super pleated corners and you use the fold over method, then you're going to have that problem we were talking about, where your thumb's going to get hung up on it, or if a page gets hung up in it. But he addresses that completely differently than you do, and it works. It's really remarkable how different craftsmen handle different problems. And to have that hammered down, now what you do is you do lose those pleats, but what it also gives you is it gives you a really nice, clean corner. So the pleats almost don't matter. It's almost like a cheat code. You can almost make a mistake and no one would be able to tell, because you hammer those corners. And what tool do you use, Vitaliy, to hammer those corners down?
It's just like a cobbler's hammer, like an old shoemaker's hammer that I found somewhere. Nothing fancy. So like goatskin can handle more abuse, and I can hammer it harder. With the cowhide, I try to do it a little bit softer, or just kind of press on it, not to overdo it.
So how do those, show me the corners, John.
Let's see. Dude, these corners are perfect. That's what I was just looking at. I keep going back to them. And of course, they're nice. The yap's nice and trained in. So I'm going to fold it out a little bit right here. Look at that. Yeah. I mean, you can see the pleats in it, but they're not rippled up where you can feel them. I mean, everything just feels so smooth. And there's no there's nothing to catch on right there. And this gilt line work is great too. Tim,
Same
I
as
had
my
a question about yours. I haven't worked with Fat Nat. I've worked with Pat Nat. But it looks similar. Have you held both?
I have experienced them both. It's a totally different experience. When I heard Fat Nat and I was thinking Pat Nat, I was like, these are going to be pretty similar leathers. And then when I open the box and I look at it, I'm like, oh yeah, it's the same. And then I pick it up, and that's the difference. The Pat Nat feels more like your typical goat skin. It's got a little more rough feel to it, but it's shiny. It's really grainy. It reminds me a bit of that water buffalo that you worked with.
Okay.
Only it has a little bit of a shine to it. So it's really slick. But this, I've never experienced this type of leather before. This has that veiny
The grain
grain.
on that looks amazing.
This thing is sick, man. And the stitch work is just next level. The spine work is next level. And of course, I did the ESV PSR art gilding is just absolutely on point. Really good, just super great craftsmanship. And
Nice.
the tool line's a little difficult to see on this because the leather is not real conducive for the tool line to antique in there, but it's definitely a really nice clean tool line. You can see it in person. It's probably a little bit more difficult to see it on the camera, but the yap, and this is the sweet spot. Y'all know I'm not a full yap guy.
Just a little bit less than full.
Yeah, just a little bit less than full, which is funny because on this one, Mr. Holiday, forewing act's funny.
It does.
Oh man, this smells so good. But this is what John did for me, and we traded for that NASB Quintel, that Vitaliy rebound, and this has got that diamond cut pattern. It's just, I've always wanted one of these, but we just never were able to quite get it together to get one done. So finally was able to get one done. Spine, this is the first time you had done the double tool lines for me on the spine hubs.
Oh,
Really.
yeah.
And of course, this one is full all the way. So, you know what? Full yap's growing on me, man. Well, I hope you enjoyed part 1 of my Rebinders Everywhere video. Part 2 is going to be me and Vitaliy talking about the effect of so many brand new rebinders entering the rebind business and how that's affected some of the veterans. And I think you might be surprised by his perspective on that. God bless you. Keep calm. Jesus on.